started. All right. Thank you everyone for joining me this afternoon on your Saturday. I really, really appreciate it. Let me get this chat pulled up. There we go. Today, I'm going to talk to you about EverFi and how you can use the EverFi free programs with your middle schoolers with a focus on financial literacy and career exploration. Drop in the chat if you have questions at any point, but let's get started. So here's what the session will look like. I'll introduce myself, give you a breakdown of what EverFi is. Then we will look at the middle school instructional resources and we will do a deep dive. There are 3 that I'm going to really highlight today that focus on that financial literacy piece, but I will mention the other ones that are a little bit more in the career space. However, all of them kind of intersect a little bit, but I'll point those out when we get there. I'll give you instructions on how to get started as soon as today, as soon as Monday with your students. And then I'll leave time for questions and answers, and then also some time for you to actually set up your stuff, and I'll be here to answer questions if you have any. This is my information. My name is Rachel Murray. I am the implementation lead for Nevada. I'm based in Lincoln, Nebraska, but typically you will have a home-based person in Nevada from EverFi working with your schools and students. Her name is Amanda. She's amazing. She's on medical leave, but she will be back at the beginning of the summer. In the meantime, I am your go-to for anything EverFi. I've got my email address and my phone number up there, and also my meeting link. If you, I'll show this at the end of the presentation, but if you just want some more information, want to chat one-on-one, talk about your specific needs, you can go ahead and book a meeting or email me at any point. But for the remainder of the school year, I'm your contact for all Nevada schools. So what is EverFi? EverFi is an education technology company, and we offer K-12 digital lessons that all focus on real world learning. So they focus on topics like financial literacy, career exploration, STEM, health and wellness, character education, and history. And our digital lessons are supplemental. So it's not a full curriculum. It's just supplemental little lessons to put in your toolbox. It is self-grading, so you do not have to grade anything. It is self-paced, so the students are on their own devices working individually. And we are standards aligned. We are Jumpstart aligned, and we are also state standard aligned. Again, I mentioned all of our courses focus on real world topics, and today we're going to focus on that financial literacy piece. Did I mention, by the way, this is completely free, free for you, free forever. So on top of those digital lessons, they're very gamified. We also have that assessment and reporting for you, so you can check on your students' progress. You can take grades if that is what you choose to do, or you can just see the learning gained. And then there is that local support, typically Amanda in your state, but me for now. It's a real person. We're not just, in a call center somewhere to help you. We're here and we want to be your partner. So we're free. How are we free? I'll get into that in a minute. But a little bit more about us. We are being used in schools around the US and as well as Canada. We have 5.5 million, and I think even more now, K-12 learners, and 1 in 4 schools use EverFi, which I think is pretty cool, just to show that we aren't someone new. We've been around and people are using us around the country. We have over 13,000 school districts in our network. In Nevada, the big ones are great partners. So CCSD, Washoe, Nye. I'm not an expert on Nevada quite yet, so I can't list all of the counties, but we have some amazing school districts on board already. And if you're curious, like what that looks like in your school district, shoot me an email. I'd be happy to answer that and see, let you know who's using this in your school district. Let's keep going. We've been around for about 15 years. We started with our financial literacy for high school course, that basic 101 course. And as we grew in popularity, we just kept building and building and building. And now we are up to over about 40 courses, not just for financial literacy anymore, all of those topics that I mentioned, just the real world learning. All of our content is developed with subject matter experts. We align everything to state and national standards, and we have an entire dedicated team meant to work with teachers and district officials. And we want to be your partner. We want to be your helpers. And so it's free. How is it free? Who's paying for this? Because someone is, it's just not the schools and the teachers. So we have business partners who fund this for the schools. It is their way of giving back to their community. It's almost their way of doing community service. And so they are the ones who pay for this. They fully fund everything. And teachers and schools will never have to pay for anything. They will never have to worry about sponsorship, anything like that. That is all EverFi's job. So on top of the partners funding the actual content, there's unlimited student licenses, by the way, with this content. They also provide that dedicated regional EverFi team. So it's not, someone from this bank helping out with a certain course or this partner helping out with a different course. It's all EverFi helping out. But the cool thing is these partners do offer some cool opportunities, different events, different scholarships, And so it's just this really cool place to be in between the business world and the education world. So these partners, a lot of them are financial institutions, Mass Mutual, Varo, lots of regional banks like to donate these courses to their students because they understand that there's a need for financial education, and they're not the experts in working with teachers. EverFi is. So other partners include the NFL, the NHL, the MLB, and then different partners such as Facebook and LinkedIn. So we've got these really cool partners who want to help out and want to give back. And so that is why all of these lessons, and you will have access to every single one of them, are completely free to schools and teachers. So let's look at the actual resources. We call them courses. So this is everything we have for middle school. I'm going to focus in on the purple topic today, the financial education one. But just know that if I'm going in the deep dive about these financial education pieces and you're thinking this might not be the best fit for my classroom, just know that we have a handful of other courses for middle school in those other topics. I'm just focusing on financial education. Specifically, I'm going to focus on the ones that are marked for 6th through 8th grade, because that is kind of that traditional middle school space. All of the grades that are listed for all of our courses, they're just suggestions. You can use them wherever you want. So I'm not going to talk about that very first one, the Vault Understanding Money course for 4th through 6th graders, because we find that it typically goes into that elementary space. But if you realize like, oh, what I am talking about is not quite right for my students, you can bump down and go to Vault, or you could even bump up and go to some of the high school courses. So it's meant to be flexible, and it's meant to give you just more tools for you to use in your classroom. So again, we've got all of these middle school courses, but I'm focusing on the financial education ones today. I kind of mentioned we go in every stage. And so if your school district is maybe a smaller school district and you haven't implemented anything yet in kind of that space, just know we have kind of that bread and butter financial literacy 101 for each grade, or each grade level rather. And so I'm going to focus on some of those, but I'm really going to focus on those 6th through 8th grade ones. But first, let's talk about Future Smart. Mass Mutual is the partner for Future Smart, so they provide everything. This is financial literacy 101 for the students. So I would say if you're curious, like where should we start with EverFi in middle school? Future Smart is my suggestion. There are 7 lessons in this one, 7 modules, 20 to 25 minutes each. We are state and national standard aligned as well as Jumpstart aligned. And we see this fit in a lot of different classes. If you have career readiness or career exploration classes, this is a good fit. If you have financial literacy classes, this is a good fit. If you have business classes, this fits in there too. Economics, I'm about to say home economics, and that's not right. Family consumer science classes, this fits as well. We also see guidance counselors use this with big groups of students too. So it can really just fit anywhere. And we know that financial literacy can be taught anywhere too, just because it is so relevant. So in Future Smart, students act as the mayor of a town, and they have to go through all of these different lessons and help their citizens with their financial choices, their career choices, and all the while they are learning about themselves as well. So a deep dive into these 7 lessons for Future Smart. The very first one is a financial personality test. So this is where excuse me, sorry, I'm just reading the chat. I'll answer your question in a second. So they do a financial personality test and they get to reflect on their own financial priorities, their habits, their mindsets. This one is really funny for those middle school students because they haven't reflected on a lot of these things yet, what's important, their values. So they come out with this answer of kind of their, it's almost like, I like to think of it as like a fancy BuzzFeed quiz of like their personality when it comes to saving and spending and planning. And they kind of take that with them through the whole course and think back, well, does that sound like me? I guess it does. And so, this one, the first lesson is really focusing on their own values when it comes to spending money. Before I jump into the next lessons, there's a question in the chat. I checked into EverFi, but if I recall, there's a component where software needs to be downloaded to the student's computer. Is that correct? No, we are cloud-based, so everything can just run through the internet. So Chrome works best for EverFi. There does not need to be any software downloaded onto computers. Great question. All right, for lesson 2 in Future Smart, this one is smart shopping. So they are focusing on making decisions that will affect their future income. They get to do a little comparison shopping. They get to research spending decisions. They analyze their sources and they learn some budgeting strategies and tips. This one is a really great lesson. I like to see teachers use this. It's really funny around like the holiday season when they are getting ready to make some shopping decisions. And that one's kind of a fun one that they get to analyze how they're going to spend their money. A really great budgeting lesson. Next up, there's a deeper dive into budgeting. So they will learn about how they are earning their income, their different payment types, the costs of credit, some saving strategies, and credit score and taxes. The budgeting one, again, kind of lesson 2 and 3, I think fit in really well around the holidays just because we're spending a lot of money, but students get to actually work through their budget. They're using their math skills. Sometimes they're surprised, oh, we learned that for a reason in math class. This is going to come into play in real life. And so this one is one of my favorites. Just with those middle schoolers, they probably haven't listed out a budget before. And so it really guides them through that. Once again, the students are all on their own devices. It is self-paced. So they are going at their own, going through the lessons on their own. You as the teacher do not need to guide them through each individual lesson. I'll show you how you can introduce the lessons to the class as a big picture. But once they dive in and once they log in, they are working through this on their own. Next up is investing in you, lesson 4. This one is really going to be talking about career exploration. So here's where that career exploration comes in. They learn about the different education and training options that they have. They learn about ways to pay for higher education, which as a middle schooler, they probably really haven't thought of very much yet. They talk about the ROI of higher education and if there is the return on investment for what their values are and what their priorities are. They get to talk about some saving strategies as well. The career options that it gives are really neat, and it does show them earning potential too. And sometimes this is a big eye opener for students on the different types of careers that, in their different income potential. So that one's always a really fun one to see students think about. In Future Smart, there are reflection questions as well through each of these modules that the students answer. And you as the teacher in your gradebook tab, I'll show you how to get there. You get to read those reflection questions. So that's also a really fun one to see. Next up, we do talk about growing a business. So they talk about things like credit and debit, and they learn how this can impact their spending strategy. They learn about compound interest, liquidity, inflation, which has been a huge one actually with students as I've been in classrooms, getting students started too. Inflation is on their minds because it's in the news. So I love that this is relevant and timely, and they are able to actually connect some dots to the real world. So they will get to analyze a budget and calculate revenue and expenses and profit or loss, and they get to compare different interest-bearing accounts as well. So again, just kind of going into financial literacy, but kind of going big picture into that business space too. That's why it fits into some of the business classes. And then we have your financial future. So students learn about different ways to finance higher education here. So they do compare the costs of different higher education institutions. They look at financing and they look at the ways to acquire federal financial aid. They also get to look at types of investments here, risk versus return, ROI, risk management, and then their credit score. I know I wasn't lucky enough to get to learn this in middle school. So thinking about these real world topics already in that 6th through 8th grade space, they are chomping at the bit to talk about this. And I typically find they're really excited to just finally understand what everyone's talking about when they hear these kind of buzzwords. And then the last lesson of this course, Future Smart, is building their blueprint. So they are really creating that financial plan. They are talking about insurance. They're learning about risk management strategies. And they just kind of put it into a big picture of their financial values, their goals, their budgeting, everything just kind of comes into one. So it really is a nice way to end all of the lessons with a plan that they have to go forward with. All right, and because MassMutual is the sponsor, is the partner for this course, they offer a very big scholarship for this course, even for middle school students. So just by completing 3 of the 7 modules, they don't even need to complete all of them. And as a teacher, you don't have to implement all 7. You can pick and choose which ones are going to be the best fit for your students, and just like where you might need to kind of fill a gap in the curriculum you have or the lessons that you're doing. So if they do 3 out of the 7, they fill out the scholarship application, which is super simple. It's basically write 3 paragraphs about what you learned and how you're going to use it in real life, which that in itself could be a whole lesson in a day, you know, where we take time out of class to fill out this scholarship. But we will pick 22 students across the country to win a 529 college savings gift card worth $2,000 to $5,000. We don't get enough applicants for this. Make your students apply. It's so simple. And I have found that when I'm working with students and I tell them about this, it gives them a little bit more, oh, I'm a 7th grader and I can get this scholarship. All right, that's pretty cool. There is more information on that, futuresmart.massmutual.com, with all the nitty-gritty details, but just know that this is a very big scholarship for this specific course. All right. Next up, so that was one middle school course, which that one's really the bread and butter, FinLit 101. It really encompasses everything. The next 2 that I'm going to talk about are a little bit more bite-sized and a little bit more specific to the topics. So this next one I'm going to talk about is called Smart Economics. MassMutual is our partner for this one again. For this school year, that scholarship does not apply for this course. Next school year it will, because this is a brand new course. So we found in that middle school space, it's different across the country. Some middle school grades have standards for FinLit, and others have more econ standards. And so we found that Future Smart wasn't quite econ heavy enough to fit those standards. So that's where we came to our partner and we said, hey, we need something that's a little bit more economics based. And we came up with Smart Economics. So this one is only 3 lessons, 15 minutes each, a little bit more bite-sized. Again, it is Jumpstart aligned, state standard aligned, and I can get you all of those standard alignments if you would want them. They're on the course detail page. I'll show you in a little bit, but this fits a little bit better in that government class, social studies, or economics class if you need to hit more of the economics standards. So I was an economics major, so this is my favorite course. It's brand new, but you do talk about kind of all the big topics that you remember from your Econ 101 class. So supply chain and trade, supply and demand, inflation, and then the government's role as well. So in this course, let's look at the lessons here. The first lesson is your role in the economy. So the students analyze the economy. They actually get to open a cupcake stand. They look at the decisions that a business owner makes in order to sell things. So they really focus on the law of supply and demand here, and they look at consumers versus suppliers in the economy. This one I really enjoy just because students oftentimes, when they first think of like starting a business, they think of like a lemonade stand, and this kind of brings it back to that. All right. Next is the government and the economy. So in this one, the students are going to talk about taxes. They will talk about trade. They will talk about GDP, and they will talk about the role of government in the economy. They even get into interest rates and inflation, which is so timely right now. And so I found that a lot of students were kind of asking about these These buzzwords, we're thinking about this. And when I gave them the option between the 3 different middle school courses that I'm talking about today, a lot of them kind of leaned toward this smart economics one, just because they had heard these terms, but didn't quite know what they meant. And so this one is talking about just a little bit more of the macroeconomics in that second lesson. In the third lesson, they really focus on buying and selling and trade. So supply chain, imported versus domestic goods, and tariffs. And so in this one, they get to, they run a pizza stand at a pizza restaurant, and they can't get all of the supplies that they need. So they have to problem solve and understand why they can't get all of their pizza toppings. And so it's just a cool way that really brings some of these really big topics that can seem really scary into something that makes sense for those middle school students. So again, that one is just the three lessons, about 10 to 15 minutes each, really, really bite-sized. Now I'm moving on to that last middle school course that I'm going to talk about today. This one is focused on saving. So this one is called Save Up. There are 4 lessons in this one, about 12 minutes each, all focused on Save Up. Varo is our partner for this one. And they really want to be able to show students that they, even as a kid, are able to open savings accounts, and it walks them through how to do that. It's pretty neat. This one's another popular one when I let students pick which one they want to do. They want to open that savings account. So the first one is lesson 1, why we should save money, why are we spending it, and we need to spend it wisely. So 10-minute lesson talks about wants versus needs, calculating expenses, and talking about that saving takes time. It's not, you don't get that immediate gratification. You got to wait a little bit. And so just kind of a refresher from when they learned it in elementary school, the wants versus needs, and putting it into a middle schooler's point of view of what things might be wants and needs at a middle school age. Next up is setting goals and planning ahead. So talking about an emergency savings, calculating all of their different savings goals, and then setting those long-term and short-term goals for savings. And then in lesson 3, they go into why should they even use a savings account, why it's important. So savings account basics, they talk about interest, they talk about the different types of accounts like a CD versus a checking account. They just get to really dive deep into kind of the banking world for the first time, which is really fun. And then for lesson 4, they actually go through a simulation of opening a savings account. So they learn about banking apps, they learn about personal information, they learn about what a custodial account is, because they are minors and they cannot open this on their own. It does not open an account for them, but what the module looks like when they're on the computer, it looks like a phone screen, like they are on an app for a bank opening an account. So it's pretty cool. They have to put in, they have to practice making a secure password and putting in secure information. And it really just walks them through what it would be like to open a savings account. And it's really funny. I was working with students in New York on this. I was in the classroom, and one of the students looked at me and he said, I have just been wanting to know how to open that savings account, and this helps me. It was so cute. And so it is just things that they wanted to know, but just weren't quite sure who to ask or if it was even possible for a middle schooler. So again, that one is pretty bite-sized, 4 modules, 12 to 15 minutes each. And again, all of these, the 3 that I talked about, plus that entire grid of all of the middle school lessons, on top of the actual gamified lessons, you get the self-grading benefit. You get optional offline lesson plans and projects and planning tools. I'll show you how to get to that, completely optional. And then also those scholarship opportunities that I mentioned. All right. Before I go into how to actually access these lessons, because by the time you leave today, you will have access to everything, can I answer any questions about the content or just EverFi in general? All right. If you think of it, put it in the chat or just pop off mute. There's not that many of us in here. All right. So to create your EverFi account, it's completely free. If your school does not use Clever or ClassLink, this is what you will do. everfi.com/create. And click that you are a teacher, and then you fill out, your account information, your name, you need a username, password, all that stuff. And that is it. If you use Clever or ClassLink, Most likely we're already on there. We are for most schools in Nevada. If you use those single sign-ons, you go to your district portal, you find Clever or ClassLink, and then you find the EverFi app, and that syncs up your account and your account is created. For the big school districts, for Clark County and Washoe, we are already on your Clever, and we have been approved by the powers that be. And so it's ready for you to use. In other school districts, the other ones throughout the state, if we're on your Clever, that means we've been approved by your district. All right, once you get that account created, you will see your teacher dashboard. It looks like this. We've got that first tab, which is the Explore Courses tab. This has every single course that we offer, and you have access to it. So you have the option right from this page to create a class or add to class. And you might see some of them might say request course. This just means that it might be an elementary or a high school course, and you're requesting it as a middle school teacher. We approve everything. So go ahead and click that request. It comes to my inbox. I approve it immediately. And so just know that it's there, and it might say request. It's just because it's not matching with that grade level that you created your account with. That's all. Next up, there is the My Courses tab, and this tab is going to populate with any courses that you mentioned when you created your account. Like, it'll have you say the different topics that you're interested. So if you put in financial literacy, you might see financial literacy here. You might not see anything here if you didn't choose that. If some of our partners, some of our sponsors have chosen your school specifically to sponsor for whatever reason, they might be, local, or they just picked your school, you might see those courses on this tab too. And it's just EverFi prompting you to, hey, use these courses, or even when you filled out your interest, it's prompting you that way. But that's another way that you can find the courses that will be useful for you. From either of those Explore tab or the My Courses tab, you click the Add to Class button. You can add to an existing class or create a new class right from there. If you do not use single sign-on, Clever or ClassLink, your students will then have a registration code that they enter in, just like Google Classroom, where it's a one-time registration code. If you have single sign-on, we bypass this step. But if not, your students just enter in that registration code, and then they see the class that you have picked for them. Students only see what their teachers have assigned for them. They don't see our whole entire catalog. Once you have created a class, you will see them on the My Classes tab. You can name them something like Financial Education, Period 1, Period 2. If you are Clever or ClassLink, you will just see the roster names there, because when you create a class, you will have the option to pick it for each of your rosters. From this page, you also can see who has started, who hasn't started, and who is certified. I'll talk about certification here in a minute. From this page, you can always edit the class to add an additional course, or you can find that registration code if you need it. So you don't have to write down that big old code. On that Explore Courses tab, this is where you have access. I should have moved this slide back up by that one, but this is where you have access to everything. And this is where you can do a deep dive into all of the lessons. So clicking on that course detail page, the details button will actually give you access to preview the course. So you get to see what the students are seeing. You can click on the standards alignment there. And then we also have optional planning resources and lesson plans. So this is what that looks like on that course detail page. Some teachers just get their students on the platform and they start playing the games, doing the lessons, and that's it. Other teachers really like to do a deep dive with their class and kind of expand. This curriculum is almost a project. And so we have those pre-written for you, so you don't have to come up with anything on your own. We have lesson plans that are all written out that can be used for sub plans. You need an easy sub plan. If you want to introduce them with slides, we have pre-made slides that are not exact copies of the lesson. It's just introducing the topics to get the students rolling. We also have optional projects that are kind of spin-off projects from this too. We have the assessments written out fully so that you have the answer keys. If you wanted to include these on if you do finals or anything like that, you can include those questions on there. So all of this is here at your fingertips for you, and you have access to everything just by creating your account. Everything is self-grading, so you can view the student grade book on the gradebook tab. And here you can search by different course. You can search by certified or not certified, and each student will populate in there. You can see which module they're on. So if someone tells you, hey, well, I already finished that, you can look at that gradebook and say, actually, you're still on module 2. You will get to see the pre and post assessment grades for every module. So you can see where there is learning gained. And the post-assessment scores, the students can retake that as many times as they want until they get a 100. If they get a 60 or above on every single module, they become certified. And there are options for you to print certifications for them. So really, you could have your entire class be certified in savings or certified in financial literacy. These grades can be downloaded as a CSV file, and then those can be uploaded to whatever gradebook system you use. It doesn't directly integrate with any gradebook system yet. It's on our wish list, but not yet. But you can at least download it into the spreadsheet and then upload to whatever system you do use. And then we do have the student profile tab for teachers. This is where you can reset passwords if you need to. So it gives you the access to do that. So you don't have to come to EverFi. And it just gives you the ability to see that. If you have Clever, everything goes through Clever. So you typically don't need to reset a password. But if you are a school that doesn't use Clever or ClassLink, I find with those middle schoolers, you reset passwords quite a bit, but it's right there for you. And then just to always find your EverFi help, there is a support tab on your teacher page. You have the option in that red circle. There's a technical support center that is like, you can just type in whatever help you might need, and it'll come up with articles that explain everything. My email address will be listed there at all times. So you can just shoot me an email. I'm happy to help. And then the scholarship opportunities are going to be listed on that support tab as well. And then down in the corner, we just added this year, there is a chat that someone is always manning, at least during school hours. And so if you just have a quick question, so-and-so isn't popping up in my class. Why is that? We can fix it right there. So everything you need is right on that teacher dashboard. This is what that support center looks like. You just search creating a class and it'll pop up for you. It's pretty nice. The last thing on your teacher platform is that invite a teacher button. So you can use this to send your colleagues, your coworkers, a link that says, hey, I'm using EverFi, you should too. And if they are not using EverFi, and after you send this to them, they start using EverFi, you get a $15 Amazon gift card donation. And you can do this to unlimited teachers in your district, in your teacher friends, in your grade, whatever. It's just a referral program that is super handy for us, but also super handy for you because you get that $15 Amazon gift card for every teacher that starts using if they are not already in our network. All right, let's keep going here. Once you have created that class for your students, how they log in. So what the students will do if they are Clever or ClassLink is they will just find the EverFi app on their portal. They verify their age. They only see what the teachers assign them and they hit start. It's that simple. There's no logging in for those students. So we really enjoy using those single sign-ons. If your school doesn't have that yet and you'd be interested in using Clever, we're a really close partner with them. We'd love to help you get that ball rolling. It's free. You don't have to use it though. It's just an option and it makes it easier and less remembering for those students. If you don't use that single sign-on, all those students do is enter in their class code. They put in their birthday. They create a username and a password that you have the option to reset. And then they just start using. So this is what the student dashboard looks like. Again, they only see what that teacher has assigned them. If they have another class that starts using EverFi and that teacher assigns a code, they put it in the top right corner and they just can continue to add classes that their teachers are assigning them. So what's next? What does this look like next? We want to be your partner moving forward, whether that's just in in your classroom or maybe your grade level or your school, but big picture, your district. How else can we just partner with you? This is free. We want to just assist you and give you all the tools that we can. So, think about where, how is this a good placement? Where could this fit? Do you see it best one per grade? Is this best in, advisory classes? If you need brainstorming help for that, talk to EverFi. We would love to make suggestions or just brainstorm with you. Next up after that is we can do trainings. So I can walk through with your teachers, setting up their classes. We can do this in person, we can do it virtually, and just answer every question that we have right away. And so we can get it set up very seamlessly. We do PDs for free anytime during the year as well. So even if you just kind of want to pitch EverFi to your school, invite us in for a PD. We would love to talk to your teachers about that. If you ever get assigned kind of last minute, hey, you're in charge of the PD, call EverFi, we'll do it for you. And so we have that option. And then we can start we can decide, let's have the 4th grade teachers start this, or the 7th grade teachers start this in financial literacy month, and let's try it out. And then we'd want to get your feedback, and we'd want you guys to talk to each other too and see what worked well, what didn't, what do we need to adjust. EverFi would also let you know at that point if there are scholarship opportunities or different event opportunities from the sponsors. And then, after we get to use it, where else can we use it? Is there another opportunity that EverFi could fit in? So we just want to be your partner. We want to help you, and it's free. So we just want to get the word out too, that it's free and here for you. Here's my information one more time. That was a lot to be thrown at you, and you've been sitting in sessions all day long. So feel free to shoot me an email, even if you just have a question, want help setting up your classes. That meeting link just goes to my scheduler, where we can Zoom one-on-one, and I can help you set up your class for you. I can answer questions, we can brainstorm, whatever you'd want. Just know we also do student workshops too. So I mentioned sometimes I get to work in classes. If you want to take a step back, let me Zoom into your classroom, give your students the instructions to do it, I'd be happy to. It's fun. And so all my information is there, but what questions can I answer for you? All right. If you think of something, in the meantime, my information is up there, but there's a few more minutes left in the session. Feel free to go create your account, set up a class. I'll be here to answer a question if you start doing that and you run into hiccups. But other than that, I appreciate you spending your Saturday with me, and I'll be around if anyone has any questions. My next session is in this room, and we're talking about the high school FinLit courses. So thank you so much, everyone.